If you dig the twisted, admire the outlandish, and are enamored by the unusual, you're in the right place. True crime, the supernatural, the unexplained, now you're speaking our language. If you agree, join us as we dive into the darker side. You know, because it's more fun over here. Welcome to Total Conundrum.
Warning, some listeners may find the following content disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Ha 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 ha.
All right, you guys, we have a really special treat for you guys today. We have a group of people that actually went and stayed at the Roff House and did their own investigation and kind of chatted with a few of them here and there. And we got a group of them together and we're going to talk about the Roff House, the Watseka Wonder, and what they experienced when they stayed there. And then we'll kind of touch base a little bit on what we experienced. So let's go one by one in order. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Tell us what group you're a part of and go from there.
Sure. I'll jump in. I'm Christina, and I am a member of the Wisconsin Apparition Tracking Society, aka TWATS.
I love that.
Thank you. And I went with our team here, kind of knowing what was, the history behind the house. I usually prefer to remain clueless, but this was a tough one to do that.
Yeah.
And it was an adventure. So we had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm Denise. Oh, I'm sorry, Christina, are you done?
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Denise. I'm also part of the Wisconsin Apparition Tracking Society, the TWATS. As Christina said, we went back in April. We went to the Roff House and we spent 2 nights there. And it was kind of a crossover event then, too, because we had Catherine from I Scream, You Scream. And then we had another group of fine young ladies from the Quite Unusual podcast that stayed with us as well. We have so many stories. We learned a lot about the house and the different people that actually lived there. And it kind of extends beyond what a lot of people know or what we came across. So very excited to share stories. So
I'm Frankie, and I'm the newest member of TWATS, first and foremost. And also, as a team, we also co-produced the Windy City Parafest. So that's where you can find most of me. We stayed 2 nights at the Roff House so that we could party and investigate.
All right. I'm Kim. I'm the last member of the Wisconsin Apparition Tracking Society and also one of the co-producers of the Windy City Paranormal Festival. And I'm usually kind of a little bit of a tech nerd, but I don't really know how to use all of it and am very unsuccessful with a lot of it sometimes. So it's kind of amusing, but that's me.
My name is Catherine. I am not part of the TWATS. I am one half of I Scream, You Scream podcast. My co-host Gina lives in the UK, so she was not at the Roff House, but she was there in spirit. We met the TWATS when we had Christina and Frankie on our podcast a few months ago to talk about the Windy City Parafest. And we just clicked right away. And it was my first ever investigation and so overwhelming in the best way. I've been telling everyone since then that it honestly may have ruined investigating for me because it was just fantastic. It was such a great experience. So like I said, I'm from I Scream, You Scream podcast. You can find us at iscreamyouscreampod.com. We're on all the socials. And well, hopefully more investigations with the TWATS as well. I'm going to be infiltrating as much as I can. I just like to invite myself places. That's how I live my life.
Yeah, I love it.
You're definitely a twat by association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And where can we find the TWATS?
We are on Instagram and Facebook. You will find us under the Wisconsin, as in WI, Apparition Tracking Society. We also have a TikTok. And as Frankie mentioned, we have all of the
Mm-hmm.
socials for Windy City Paranormal Festival as well. So you can find us in both places.
Wonderful. Frankie, why don't you give us a little rundown on Windy City? I was listening to that on Dairyland Fright's podcast. It was right before your festival. So do you want to give us a little rundown on it?
Yeah, it was kind of amazing. And I can't believe that it was over a month ago that we had. Like, it feels like it was yesterday and 10 years ago. We had such a great time. The entire mission was to amplify underrepresented voices in the paranormal space. And I think, I don't know, just from the feedback from guests and presenters, I think we nailed it. Like, folks had a great time. I feel like we have a bigger family now than we had going in. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, hopefully we can make it. We're in Minnesota, so we're not
Oh, yeah.
far. And I have
Yeah.
a sister that lives in McHenry, Illinois. So only
Yeah,
about,
I'm hoping by next year, folks are feeling better about traveling and spending money
right.
and that kind of thing. I think that was a thing that we were up against this year, but now that we've done one and, everyone had such a great time, I think the word's going to spread. So we'd love to have you.
Yeah, definitely. And when you guys
Yeah.
plan the next one, send us the information and we'll
Of
make
course.
sure to share it for you as
Oh,
well.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Thank you.
Of course. So, like I mentioned before, and in some of our other podcasts, Jeremy and I actually went to the Roff House and we stayed 2 nights as well. And we met the owner, John, had a long discussion with him. He played us some audio clips of things that people have sent him that stayed there. I love everything spooky, but I am scared to death of it in the same. So I was the one that was staring at the ceiling every night, like, why is everybody sleeping? How can everybody be sleeping? And we slept in that kind of in between room, in between the sitting room and that back room. We made
Where,
sure to
where
take,
one of the devil pictures were.
yeah,
That's where I was. That was
Were
my
you?
room.
All by
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah,
Yes,
right
it was
by the
great.
stairs. So we took one of the
Yeah.
devil pictures down and put it across the stairs so nobody would fall down the stairs. And the other one, I think we just flipped over. When I walked upstairs at first, I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" But John said that a friend of his is an artist and he actually painted those for him. So there wasn't any like demonic meaning behind it. It was just something that his friend had painted and he really enjoyed. And I know like John is very iffy I know he had that. Did you guys know about the psychic experience that he had when he was renovating the house?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
So when he was renovating the house, he was just down because it was taking so much money, so much time, so much energy. And basically, he sat in the middle of one room and just shouted, he's like, I can't take this anymore. And one of his friends, who is a psychic, called him the next day and told him that a woman came to him or came to her and said, it'll all be worth it. You just have to just push through. And she had no idea that he was feeling like that he had said anything. And they basically said that they appreciated what he was doing. I can't remember if he actually said who the woman was or not, but that kind of helped him feel like he was doing the right thing.
I'll jump in and say that from our experience there, I have no doubt that it was Catherine Clifton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably one of the more recent owners of the home, and it seems that she owned the home for quite some time, but she was kind of the person that we didn't expect and we knew nothing about, and who showed up in a big, strong way for us while we were investigating.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't looked into any of the current history of the house. I kind of focused on the Roff side, so I'm excited to hear a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
The other thing that he shared is that he has a copy of the letter from Nervi or Minerva, Mary Roff's sister, basically with her statement of everything that happened was true.
Oh, wow.
And he trying to think what else he said. Do you remember, Jeremy, if there was anything that I missed?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Well, and before we went there, we have a couple friends who are into the paranormal, and they both have abilities. And I had asked Megan to remote view into the property and just let us know what we were looking into or what we were getting ourselves into. And she had said that there was kind of a yin and yang spirit, or two yin and yang spirits in the house. There was like an old hag type person up in that sitting room upstairs. And then there was more of a dark energy in the basement. And they both had the same eyes, almost like swirling eyes. And then after she closed her remote view session, later that night, this woman came to her, said that she had followed back the trail or the tail or whatever of the remote view, the string. And the woman was flipping between a doll and a human. And she said that the woman had said that her spirit was trapped in the doll, basically, and she had been in the house for a long time. Well, I'd mentioned that to John, and he kind of like sat up a little straighter, and he's like, really? And he goes, follow me. Brings us up to, I think it was, would have been the master bedroom upstairs. And he walked into the closet and pulled out 3 dolls. And the dolls were not original to any of the owners that have owned the house. There was this gentleman that was known to be kind of, we'll just say a little on the obscure side from town. And he would show up at all of the events that they would have there. And he would just randomly just sit there and stare at the property. Well, when that man, before he passed away, he asked John to take the dolls in because he thought they would be a good fit for the home. John didn't really like them. He put them in the closet, that attic closet. And when the guy passed away, mysteriously, like a week later, the man's guitar showed up leaning up against a tree outside. And he doesn't know how the guitar got there or anything, but John thought it was very interesting that I had said something about her seeing this doll, and these dolls were in the house. So that was kind of our conversation with John. Jeremy didn't feel anything. Actually, we all left the one day to go venture out into town and kind of talk to some of the townspeople. Jeremy actually took a nap when he was there during the day. He was down in the basement for a while. I went down there. He finally convinced me to go down to the basement. And while we were down there, we were getting some REM pod activity. We came upstairs and I was playing the video of the REM pod activity we were having in the basement. And we set the REM pod on top of the grand piano in that main living room. And all of a sudden, the REM pod started reacting at the same time as what it was in the video. So the video I'm playing saying, can you touch this? And then the REM pod would go off in the video and on the grand piano. Like, okay, can you back away? And it would stop in the video and on the grand piano. And we had Ring cameras set up. And on the Ring camera, I caught footage of when I asked it what its name was. All you hear is a brah, just like this kind of growly, you can't make it out. Can't say it was actually legit, but there was no other interference on any other video from the Ring cameras. And I'm trying to think I think that was pretty much the only thing that we really experienced there. Do you remember? Oh, no.
Weird orb thing.
Yes. Jeremy was videoing me up in that sitting room upstairs. We were on an Instagram live, and this orb, why don't you describe it, Jeremy?
Well, basically, I'm recording her, and as I'm watching her, like a ball of light kind of came out from the top of her head, went up towards the corner of the ceiling, and then over in the other direction towards me. And it was just kind of moving in weird directions and stuff. So, but it was the only one that we ever caught that night.
I'll send this stuff to you guys too, so you can hear it and see it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, very cool.
the only other thing that I remember being of significance is that Jill, she was sitting, it was either Jill or Pam, one of the girls we were with. She was sitting on the couch in that main living room by herself, and she's scrolling on her phone, and you can see it, you know, it's just her on the Ring camera. You can hear some laughing and, you know, joking around from the kitchen. So you can hear that in the background. And all of a sudden you hear 3 knocks, like right by her. She stops and she looks around and she goes, "Who's in the bathroom?" Because she said it sounded like it came from the bathroom under the stairs. And she sat there for a minute, and then she walks over to the bathroom. She opens the door and she's like, "Okay, then," and walks into the other room. And she's like, "Is anybody knocking?" But you could clearly hear it in that room. And so those were the big experiences that we had when we were there. But like I said, there was so much noise, and like half the people were partying, the other half were trying to do things. And we had some activity on like the Geo box. I don't even know if we've actually even gone through all of our recordings yet. There was just so much because we had so many different things set up, and just finding the time to go through it. That's the hard thing about paranormal investigating.
Yep. I actually just started going through some of our recordings the last couple of days, and I never do this, but at Roff House, I just left my recorder running. And so I have at least between 2 recordings or 3 recordings, I have probably a full 24 hours
Wow.
of recording to go through, and I think I've gone through 3 hours so far.
That's hard.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's interesting that I want to point out is Noelle had brought her big mouth Billy Bass, and he was on the piano, and nobody would be in the piano room, and it's motion activated, and it would just start going off. And we all went to bed at like 3 or 4 the first night, maybe even 5. And Denise and I slept in the first bedroom on the stairs in the front of the house, and the piano is right below us.
Yes.
So I was trying to sleep, and all I could hear was Big Mouth Billy Bass going on, going off like every 20 minutes.
Oh no!
Yeah,
The same song.
I woke up to it around like 10 in the morning, and I was like, "Oh, maybe someone's downstairs making
Swirling.
coffee."
Yeah.
Singing "Don't Worry, Be Happy."
Yeah. And I thought maybe someone's
And I
making
will
us
survive.
coffee. Yeah. And it just kept happening. And finally I went downstairs, and then Catherine joined me, and we realized that no, it was just going off all night. And it was funny because as soon as we were downstairs and sitting there in the dining room enjoying some coffee and chit-chatting, it stopped. As soon as we came downstairs, it stopped. And then I think Frankie came downstairs next, and it popped up and went off when he walked by. And so the battery hadn't died. It was still working normal and just behaved itself. But overnight it was sitting right on the grand piano where you said you had your REM pod. So
That's crazy.
that room was that front living room was pretty active for us. But we also did some our version of Estes method in that room as well. And I think that room though did seem, I think it only makes sense. It would be the room where guests would be entertained as well. But I can say going into it for us, I knew the history. I knew about the Watseka Wonder. For those who are listening, it's the first recorded case of possession in the United States. And I knew that it was a spiritualist family, or at least some of them were. So being a practicing witch, I had prepared some spell work for us to do while we were there. I also went in with the thought of trying to approach it from as much as I knew of a spiritualist sense. So we did make sure that we spent a lot of time in that dining room, in the round, at the table. But I will agree, when I walked in at first, it wasn't the feeling of there's something being in the house. Frankie and I walked in through the dining room into the kitchen. As you come in that front door off to the left-hand side, and it was the two of us looked at each other, and we both kind of agreed that we didn't feel a lot in the house at the moment. But what we felt was someone looking at us, and it was bright, broad daylight, but we felt like someone was watching us from outside. There was a lot of observation happening.
Yeah.
And he and I kept remarking that is really the overall feeling that we felt, was that there was this observation. And I think, I tried to really set my intention ahead of time that we were respectful of that spiritualist sense, that we wanted to come into the space and respect that. I established the spell work that we did as a group at that dining room table. Very gentle, loving. It just helped open up the communication. Nothing scary. I actually was so comfortable in the house. I stayed back while everyone ran errands, and I took a nap at one point.
That was Jeremy.
Yeah. Yeah. And just really felt a comfort. So we had some very diverse experiences as far as physical things happening while we were doing spell work. And I think another time we were just sitting at the dining room table chatting, we had multiple occasions where the door in the kitchen to the garage, which if you're sitting at the head of the table that faces the front of the house with your back to the kitchen, it's directly, a few steps behind you out into the attached little garage that's there. And it popped open at one point that really startled us. But it did pop open on more than one occasion for us, to the point where we finally put some things in front of it, and we played around with that door. That door, didn't have a tendency when you walked in a certain spot to open. It did not have a tendency, to have a handle that didn't latch all the way. It just was one of those experiences where
Was that the door by the washer and dryer?
No, it was actually the door that would be just to the left of the stove.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a
yes,
hutch on the wall to your left as well, but it's kind of between there. That was
we had the washer and dryer, that little screen door in there kept popping open on us. We assumed it was wind or something. It was during the day, never at night. But the big door in the dining room did blow open as well when when only a couple of people were there. Not everybody was there yet. And again, they're like, well, I'm hoping it was the wind. So
I will say that big door at the front of the house in the dining room does not latch correctly, at least when we were there. So that, I always say though, we have all this equipment. For me, the experience is what I can say that
What you
really
feel.
happened. I witnessed it, right?
Yeah.
I can go back and listen to audio. I can look at video, and it's wonderful to have. I appreciate it. But how do you know it's not someone else talking in another room, especially when you get a big group like this, right?
Right.
Yep.
But we did, I think we've gathered some good evidence from that experience. I believe Denise was able to capture the back door opening on us at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And Catherine caught an image that just absolutely blows my mind. Do you want to
I was
share?
very proud of that one. Well, it's funny because the reason I remembered to even send it to you all, because I also took forever to go through my photos, but Gina and I were talking on a recent recording of our podcast that I am notorious for spotting faces in a window. That's like my favorite thing to look for. I am face in a window girl for some reason. And I caught one. I got a face in a window. It was during that time. We were all setting up. We, were kind of getting ready to get started for the evening. And it was that time that Christina was talking about, that everyone was kind of feeling like we were being watched. Not in a bad way, just in like, it kind of felt like they're used to people being there. They're used to seeing a whole bunch of different people. They were kind of clocking us and just seeing what our vibe was. And Christina and Frankie had been talking about that, and I was just going through taking photos on my camera, just casually, honestly, mostly just because the house is beautiful and I wanted photos. Like, I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't trying to get anything. But then when I was going through them, there's one shot where I was standing in the living room, that front room. The piano was on my left, and I was pointing the camera toward the stairwell and the front door. And in the window next to the door, you can see what I think looks like a face. And if you look closely, there are actually a couple of spots in that window that you can see multiple spots that look like they could be faces. There's a couple that I'm like, whoa, I immediately was like, I can't not see this one once I look at it, but I can send it to you guys. But yeah, that was the one that I got that I was like, okay, I'm putting this in my personal inventory because all the other one, there wasn't anything that could reflect on it or anything. So yeah, I was proud of that one.
Nothing there. It's the closest thing is a tree, which is in the yard.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that was most remarkable to me was the most obvious face. If you take and look at a photo of Mary Roff and you look at this face, you're seeing, kind of this outline here. The hairline and the hairstyle is almost exactly the same. The nose shape, the jawline, it looks like the image of Mary Roff that's in the house, but there's no way that that would be reflecting because it's actually on the same wall and there's not a reflective surface across the way. So it did seem interesting that that was the capture right around the time that we're all having that experience.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that a lot of it happens in that one room where the seances, if I remember correctly, the seances that they had were in the dining room.
Yeah.
And from what John was saying, I believe the table in the basement was original to the home when he bought it.
Okay.
So there's that table in the I don't know if it was still there, but in the far back room in the basement.
I don't think we even got to the basement.
We didn't go.
Really? Did any of us go to the basement?
No.
I forgot there even was one.
I am not a spider girl.
Yeah,
Frankie, I remember, dared me to go in the basement. And I was like, first of all, I'm over 6 feet tall. So
Yep.
Those ceilings look really low to me. And also, I don't want spiders in my hair. So you know what? I'll hang out with ghosts all day long, but I am not hanging out with spiders in my hair. So
Jeremy didn't say he's never had a paranormal experience. So he's very skeptical. So he didn't feel anything. I just felt it was heavy when I was in the basement. And it took a lot for them to convince me. It was like day 2. And I went down there and then he, of course, wanted all the lights off. And I'm like, ugh. But at the bottom of the stairs, there's actually like a hole in the wall that goes under, like it's dug out. So I don't even know what is back there or what, for the most part, the basement was pretty clean and it didn't feel like it was too cobwebby when we were there, but it was just, it was scary.
Well, we're going back in September, so.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yep.
How fun.
Basement time it is.
All right. All right.
You can wear a helmet or a bathing cap.
I'm going to wear like a beekeeper's bonnet.
There we go.
So you were saying that you had come across some new history on the.
Yes. So one of the things that happened, and I can't remember when she kind of came forth for us, if it was it might have been when Frankie was under for Estes at the dining room table.
It was.
I think, wasn't it during, you started suspecting she was there during when we were doing the board.
Oh, yes. We were.
Remember,
she was
using a
preventing board.
Yeah, she was telling other people to keep their thoughts to themselves.
Yeah, she wanted to speak. A
Yeah.
very direct woman. She has a very distinct, stylish look. And I know Frankie saw her, and at first she, and I can see this, she almost came across as masculine, but as we got to know more about her, that makes sense for her time, was Catherine Clifton. And so we now refer to the house as the Roff Clifton house because of her presence. But we did do a dive into the history of her. The T.W.A.T.S, Nick and Noel, who were unable to join us today, they also had looked into the history of her for us overnight after that first night. And we found out so much about her. So she owned the home. Her stepfather had actually left her the home. She owned the home. She was a pilot and she managed a large area of the farms around there.
Yeah, like thousands of acres.
Wow.
She would fly her plane to check on the status of those. In her passing, she actually left a large amount of money to the city to have the current courthouse at City Hall built for that area. But she wasn't necessarily the most loved person in the city because she was a very strong, outspoken woman, a woman ahead of her time
She's
who
badass.
yeah, she
She's
really
Yeah.
was.
She was.
And super artistic. She loved the property. She's actually the person who built the pool and the grotto in the back. All of those stones were from her travels around the world. She did a lot to the home to take care of it. And she was very present for us. And it wasn't in, she was persistent and she was very forward, but it was more in the matter of like, hey, I'm a big part of the history of this home as well. Without her, I don't think that home would have been even in the condition that it was when the current owners got it. And I know they did an immense amount of work on the home as well.
Yep.
But she really, there are many photos of her now in the home. And at first, like, I tried not to look at those photos. They're all kind of on an easel in the back living room there on the main floor because I didn't want it to influence anything, but they are photos of her life and her time there, her plane parked outside of the house.
Yep.
That's my
And
favorite one.
yeah.
I love that one.
And
So
so
where was the pool in the back?
it's actually, if you walk out the raised patio,
Okay.
the grotto is to your left up against
Yep.
the house.
I
If you
remember that.
continue walking straight ahead, there's some trees in the backyard line. There is an area where there's another patio there out towards the back.
Yes.
That is actually the pool.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Filled
We'll
it
have
in.
to, we have some drone footage. I'll have to look and see if you can
Yeah.
actually
Oh,
still,
yeah. Very
'cause
cool.
Yeah.
sometimes the ground will settle. So I'll have to see if it's.
Yeah, it's actually filled in. So it is like a
Cement.
patio out back there. There's
You can
cement.
tell.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, there is
In a
cement on
faucet
it. Okay.
coming out.
I
Yep.
believe one of the pictures that's on the easel actually shows it, and you can actually
Yeah.
see that it was a pool.
See, I don't think that easel was there when we were there. So
Mm.
interesting.
The
I don't
pictures
remember
were
that.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it. And is that in the room with the old-fashioned record player?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't remember.
You definitely, yeah, if it was there, you would have seen it.
You would
It
have
was
noticed
pretty
it.
prominent. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
in the room.
last.
It's in the room with the great painting of Jesus.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The last day that we were there, I finally allowed myself then to look through all of them. And Denise went outside and tried to recreate some of the photos together.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very fun. Yes, so that piece of history was missing when we were there.
Send you some of that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have photos of the photos and then
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
what we tried to do.
Yeah, there's the way they decorated that house was just, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I did a full walkthrough with, videotaping all the rooms, and I almost fell down the stairs because it was my first time walking down the stairs, and those stair boards aren't all secure. At
Yeah.
least they weren't
Yep.
when we were there.
It's kind of steep.
Yes, and I know I'd seen there is a filmmaker and ghost hunter. His name is Cam Crosby, I believe. And I think he's part of Dark Lux production. I watched a YouTube video of his investigation before we went there. And when he was there, the house was not finished. And he had a psychic that was there. And he was supposed to come and meet us there that weekend because he wanted to see the inside, how, the house now that it was finished. And he was going to share some of the information with us, but he had a family emergency and wasn't able to make it. So that was kind of a bummer, but we did, like I said, we got to meet John, and that was amazing. Had him come over for dinner and sit with us. And yeah.
Nice.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else did you guys experience or encounter?
I was going to say
ahead.
one of my favorite things was going to the cemetery because we
Oh,
did
yeah.
go
We
to the
didn't do that.
cemetery and we found Catherine's family mausoleum and where she's buried, and just a lot of people in the Roff family buried in the cemetery there. And so it was really like the spiritualist community. There's a lot of markers in there, which Christina knows a lot about that stuff. So that was really a fun history lesson that, we didn't really know. So it was really good to tie that in to the investigation that we were having. So
yeah, and the cemetery, it was interesting that like in the middle of the 19th century up into the early 20th century, you don't see any like crosses or in hoc signo kind of stuff that you would see in a Christian, in a similar town in America of that time tended to be Christian. There's none of that until like about 1915, 1920. So it's obviously a very spiritualist community because they didn't use those types of symbols typically. But that cemetery has a really great feel. The energy is really like fantastic. Yeah, that was a highlight for sure.
Yeah, I had looked up the information for Mary Roff and just all of the family to see if anyone had been buried nearby. And she was the one who was closest and the one who was most prominent in the story. Unfortunately, other people who were prominent to the story besides her family are not nearby in the cemetery. So we went. I had no clue about the cemetery layout or where she was. And my favorite part was that we're riding in the car and, it's kind of a winding cemetery. And we come around a corner and Kimberly was driving and I was like, stop the car right now. And she did. And if you look exactly to my right, like up the hill, all of a sudden, right there, I got out, just walked right to. I don't know how, don't know why. Just it was one of those things where she was like, "I'm right here," and I had brought in a gift, an offering for her to leave, and we also left something at Catherine's grave, which not knowing about Catherine before we went, I didn't know that she was also there, but before we left, we did check and she was buried there. So that was just one of those things where it was very meaningful to have had the first night of interaction and then be able to go to the cemetery, and also went past the courthouse where Noelle had gotten out and walked to the front of the building and actually heard her name spoken while she was standing there, to the point where it made her feel unsettled. And it's not as if there were other people around.
yeah, it was
It's a very
was
small
that
town.
quiet.
It is. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that's kind of out of the town a little bit. And we also went past the other home involved in the story, which used to be a home that you could utilize for investigation and unfortunately no longer is.
Is
So
that the original Roff home or
that
the
is
Vennum home?
the
The
Lurancy Vennum
Vennum.
home.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just took a moment to drive by and acknowledge everyone. The opportunity to do that when it presents itself is something that we find important as a team. Just our approach being super gentle and our focus being interaction over capturing evidence. That's kind of where we set ourselves apart and what we have had great success with for us. Some of us have previously been on a team that's very fact based and as techy and scientific as it can be. So as Kim said, we have all of that and we use it, but our focus is really that feeling of connection and interaction. One of the things I had also done was thought about the sense that in a spiritualist community, oftentimes they would still get up and go to church every Sunday morning, even though they had a seance Saturday night.
Right.
But as Frankie said, they're not going to present themselves in the traditional sense of Christianity. So there is an absence of a lot of that in the cemetery, which just kind of feeds into that concept. We had some Estes sessions that helped to support that. But I had felt really called before we went to do something that we had never done before as a regular thing. I had tried it once at a previous investigation, just briefly, and that was to bring some tuning forks and work with frequency while we were trying to communicate. I just felt really called to that in the spiritualist community, and had this sense that there was something to do with frequency or sound that was their method, that particular group of people's method for finding that space or that zone that you get into when you're reading. As a seer, I'm familiar with that, and it happens differently for everyone. But when you're collectively working on it, usually you have a collective trigger. I didn't really conceptualize it fully. I just knew that I felt drawn to bring frequency and sound into the investigation and hadn't really shared it with the team that I recall,
No.
other than that I had said to you guys on the previous investigation we had done elsewhere that like, hey, I have these in my bag. And Frankie went under for an Estes method session during the spell work that we did and had an incredible experience that played into that. So I'll let him explain that from his point of view.
It's interesting because it's, this was months ago now, and I want to remember. I wanted to like go, well, I can barely remember it because it was months ago. You know how investigations get, like, you have these experiences, but then over time you start to go, I don't remember if it was the first night or the second night. No, this is like super clear to me. And the sounds that I was hearing, I still hear every day. I still can't explain them. I've tried to write about them, but what happens during this early part of our investigation was I went under Estes, and I was using the mind blockers, which is like the frequency that, so you can't hear anything, and the glasses with the redded lights is you kind of like, it's not really a trance necessarily, but it just kind of gets you in this receptive place. And we were doing some candle magic as well, but I couldn't see any of it because I'm, totally like sensory deaf. But I started to see in my mind's eye a storm coming and coming from the east. And like, as I was starting to talk about that, you can see, I don't know if we got this on video. I feel like we did, but at that point, when I started talking about, a storm and a wind coming in from the east, the candle that was burning that represented the east went out. And then as part of this whole vision, I started seeing a group of people that were communicating with frequency and tones. They're like not singing. I wish I could describe this. I've tried and tried. They weren't really, it wasn't music, but it was these tones, and they weren't even really pleasant, but they were beautiful, if that makes any sense at all. And this is the part when Christina started using the tuning forks, which I had no idea because I, totally was sensory deaf. And at some point during these tones, other tones started being added to them that were not made by like human bodies or human voices. And I got the sense that like this was a communication effort from, like to cross the veil. And so obviously if a communication was coming back, it wouldn't be made by like flesh and bone, right? It'd be from some other source. And I just got the real sense that this either was physically how a group of people were communicating at some point in this room or in this town, or this is a representation of it, like the best explanation someone could give me, just in my mind alone. It was the coolest experience. And I will literally wake up some mornings and just hear this still. And I've gotten up a couple of times to try to write, try to write what it is, and I just cannot describe it. So that's kind of like my white whale at this point. Like I'm on this journey to at some point be able to either have somebody else experience it, and so we can have a shared language, or be able to describe it. The closest I got was at Parafest when a lovely human named Bricks was talking about frequency and stuff that they had experimented with, and let me hear the sound. And I was like, I was so ready for it to be the one, and it wasn't. It was really cool, but it was like, it wasn't the one.
I'm trying to think of the word that, I don't know if it's the right word or not, but it's what keeps popping into my head when you say that. Ethereal.
Definitely. It definitely had an otherworldly, like that's a great word, and also not enough.
Yeah, and I don't think we recorded it on video just because I normally don't let people record me when I do spell work, but I think we might have some audio recording of it. I'm not sure. Yeah. It was one of those moments where, I mean, it moved Frankie to tears while he was listening. Yeah.
It was very moving.
Something we will be exploring more when we go back in September. We're actually going back with someone who they've done a lot of work with using frequency and sound in investigation. So I'm excited to see what that combination does for us. And I I would like to, because our communication with Catherine Clifton was so incredibly strong, I would also, of course, I welcome that, but I would love to tap into the spiritualist community of the area, knowing that that's who I felt like was watching us more than.
Yeah.
We'll be back after these messages.
Hey, Conundrum crew. Have you ever listened to an episode and thought, wow, I wish I could wear this level of chaos?
Well, now you can. That's right. Total Conundrum officially has merch.
Hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, stickers, everything you need to rep your favorite mystery-loving, banter-filled podcast in style.
And the best part? Our signature cute pink brain is front and center, scratching its head just like the rest of us, trying to figure out life's weirdest mysteries.
Honestly, it's the perfect representation of our show. Smart, a little confused, and totally adorable.
Just like me! Yeah!
Sure, Jeremy. Let's go with that.
Anyways, if you want to grab your official Total Conundrum merch, head to bonfire.com/store/total-conundrum and get yourself something spooky, stylish, and absolutely conundrum worthy.
Because nothing solves a mystery quite like retail therapy.
Available now while supplies last.
And back to the show.
Anyone else. I should also say that I have, and I think our entire team kind of feels this way, a really strong belief that spirit really isn't trapped per se, not saying that we haven't come across some situation where spirit has been barred from moving, but most of the time our experience is that our communication with spirit has said to us and shared with us that it can come and go at will and that it moves freely. I think that sometimes, I know you mentioned the dolls. I think for me, sometimes I've experienced dolls who sometimes have been given almost the energy of, say, like a tulpa, where it's just so many people have believed that this doll is haunted,
Right.
that it then becomes haunted. But I also have experienced, as a doll collector myself, dolls who tend to have more of a energy presence themselves that spirit might almost like inhabit for communication at times. That's just been my perception and reading.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with this whole spiritual possession. I watched all these documentaries. Like the Booth brothers did a documentary where they actually interviewed one of Lurancy's great nieces who had memories of the time. And they were basically
interesting.
told, just don't talk about it, don't acknowledge her, because they would walk into a room and she would be in one of her trances and basically they stepped over her and just kept moving on. But the whole beautiful thing of Mary inhabiting her to help her go through the whatever she needed to heal from is just, when I first heard of the case, I was like, oh, creep, but once I started digging into it, I kind of saw the beauty behind it and the confusion that Mary had, even being in Lurancy's body. At like the one point where she was sitting with her, I can't remember if it was her mom or dad, with Dorothy and Asa, or one of them or both of them. And she was talking about the pain of, the bloodletting and the, doing the leeches and stuff to relieve the pain in her head. And at one point she like went to pull up her sleeve and she's like, do you remember the time I cut myself in the yard? And then she looked down and she goes, oh, this isn't my arm. My arm is in the ground.
Right.
And with Asa and Dorothy, going through losing her from what I understand, there's a lot of confusion I've heard that she was at one place and then she was at another place. And I've heard she was at two different places. The one place wasn't even built, so she couldn't have been there, but she went to the route doing the water treatments and all of that stuff. And then she came home, from what I understand, and then went back because she was still having problems. And that's when she passed. There's so many like different stories in regards to it. It was that's why I spent so long writing the story for it, because I wanted to do it justice.
Yeah.
And then with like Lurancy, supposedly Mary visited her when she was giving birth to her first child to take away the pain one last time. But then Lurancy went on to live this beautiful, pain-free life after the fact. And then just recently, this is something that I just thought of, and it's totally random, but there was so many children that were born after Nervy and Mary. I know they had a couple losses, but where were all these kids in that house?
Right,
There's not
right.
enough bedrooms for taking in Lurancy and all of these other children that were
I know.
in the house. Where did they put them?
They must have shared beds. I'm sure that they did. I'm
Right.
sure that they had many little twin beds in there, or they had large beds and they shared beds. You know, back in that
Mhm.
time, they would share beds, even if you were a family with means.
Right.
And for a
Yeah.
farming family, they were out there. They would share beds. You know, they'd have 3 or 4 little kids in a bed at once. So,
Well, and I
uh,
guess there is
Yeah.
that other room that I'm assuming when we were there, it was locked. The one at the
yes,
top of the
yeah.
stairs. Oh, maybe
Mhm.
I don't know what's in that room. So I guess there is another
The
bedroom, but
left.
Actually, it's a
right.
closet.
Oh, is it?
It is,
Okay.
because in
Mhm.
that main room in the front, it actually has a door to it, and I got nosy, so I went in and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a closet." Yeah.
And we have to remember that there probably weren't bathrooms in that
Yep.
house. So the spaces where
Right.
there are bathrooms were either small rooms or closets. It's been
Yep.
reconfigured a little bit. There's also that back stairwell would have been a servant's
Yes.
bedroom.
Yep.
So the family, one family at one point in time, though, that back portion of the house does seem to be added, even though
Yeah.
it's the same
Mhm.
brick. I
Right.
Yep.
do think at some point that was added onto the house, so it might have been after the Roff family lived there. One thing that we discussed as a team that we found really interesting was this concept in reading oftentimes that and hearing other people speak about the story was that these 2 families lived extremely far apart and that they had no contact with each other and that maybe they, in passing at one point, had maybe crossed paths. But the reality of that is when we really, drove the distance and then the idea that the Roffs had lived in the downtown area before they moved out to this house is that yes, it's a small community, and yes, it seems like a little bit of a distance, even if we didn't have vehicles at that point. But I'm pretty certain that they knew their neighbors and that they
Mhm.
did know one another. I have a hunch, and it's just my personal belief, that in writing the book, that the physician who helped them and who stepped in and ultimately, documented everything, maybe did that to make things seem more believable for people who
Maybe.
weren't from the area. There's always just that possibility there, and maybe they weren't a close family, but I do think that if we have this understanding that both of them were comfortable with spiritualism and the community seems to be as big of a spiritualist community as it was, the possibility that they knew each other maybe a little bit better is likely. Now, that wouldn't mean, though, in the sense of time, that Lurancy would have had any sort of an understanding about Mary's experience, and
Right.
probably not, because I'm sure it was not really spoken about. It's not as if mental health was something that was acceptable at that point in time either.
Well, and Mary really went through it with the
Mhm.
documentation and the different things, not only the having the gift of sight in these trances, being able to read things through being blindfolded. She had I'm trying to think. She had a lot more happen than what Lurancy did.
Mhm.
And the having the pet leeches because that was her only way of having any kind of relief. I couldn't imagine grabbing leeches and sticking them on you and thinking that this is going to help alleviate the pain that she was experiencing. And I mean, I don't know exactly what she was going through. And I know like epilepsy and all of these different things were not anything that anybody knew of, during these times. And I also looked into, in our episode, we covered some of the things that they used in the asylums. And there's like the Utica crib, where they would lock people in this crib and just leave them because they thought being still would fix them. Or what is it called now? The tribunation chair, where they would strap them to a chair and there was a hole in the bottom of the chair for them to go to the bathroom, and they would leave them in these chairs for up to 6 months at a time. And the hot cold baths and all of these things that they did. I mean, Jeremy made a good point. We were talking about it the other day when we were driving to work, and he had said, he goes, with the lobotomies and other things, he goes, at the time, removing the ribs and inflating the lungs for tuberculosis, they were trying to fix things. Not all doctors were evil. They were trying to find cures and trying to find ways to make things better. There was the ones that were evil and were doing it when they didn't need to, but I could not imagine living in a time like that where let's stick an ice pick in your eyeball and see if it, fixes you. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully you'll do a trigger warning at the beginning of this because I feel like this is sensitive for a lot of people, right? Right.
Yeah.
But I worked in mental health many years back as a very young adult, and worked for a community-based facility. But then we worked closely with the Winnebago County Mental Health Institute, which was a farm actually when it had started. It's in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. They have a really cool museum if anyone gets an opportunity to go. Not many hours that they're open, but it is really intriguing to go there. And we do think about the fact that you could also institutionalize a family member for misbehaving, right?
Or having PMS.
Yeah. And I also really like to point out that these young ladies in the time frame where they were extremely symptomatic were also going through puberty and into young adulthood. And as someone who is really tapped into energy, I'll tell you that oftentimes those are points in a household where a household that's never had activity might start having activity. It's just the energetic shift that's happening in the human. I see it oftentimes when women are going through perimenopause or menopause. So those symptoms of things tend to bring about more poltergeist activity, but puberty can bring about, visions and pretty extreme things. It can also then, of course, just impact depression and some of those experiences. But if we think about the leeches, think about people who do cut themselves to ground themselves. They might be the most healthy functioning person that you know, and you could have no idea. I worked with a woman who actually went out and did public speaking, talking about her experience as someone who cut for grounding. And that was her way of like bringing herself back to her body. So when we think about the leeches, that was, in reading the story as published originally, that was one of the first things that really stood out to me was, oh, well, she was using these as an acceptable way
Right.
to ground herself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when that wasn't helping, that's when she got into cutting, and she almost died because she had cut herself so deep. But yet the strength that she had, being so low on blood and having to have 3 grown men try to subdue her in the state that she was in, is just, the body is
It speaks to that energetic pull, right? That ability to manipulate energy and not fully understand what's going on. And it made me wonder if that isn't what brought the community to really come together in spiritualism as well, just from what they had experienced.
Right. And that was the prime of spiritualism when this was all going on. This is when everything was just starting to kind of really, I mean, I can't remember what year, like the Fox sisters and stuff, what year they actually came into play. But and then you've got Harry Houdini was out there trying to debunk them all, He
And
wanted to believe. He wanted somebody to prove it to him that it could really be but he's like, you're fake, you're fake, you're fake. I'm bringing you down.
And Kimberly and Denise and I actually grew up in his chosen hometown.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
Very cool. I was actually kind of upset that Ghost Adventures tried to play on the whole Harry Houdini on their newest season. They went into the Winchester house, which is something that's very near and dear to me because I've always wanted to go there. I haven't been there. Jeremy has. But
Jeremy, you gotta get on that, make that dream come true.
yes. And we so that's like, them exploiting that place. And then they were trying to summon Harry Houdini while they were there. And like, if he's not going to come back for his wife, that he's not coming back for you, Baggins.
Yeah.
I Ghost Adventures is a controversial subject in the
In the T.W.A.T.S house.
well, I would say in the paranormal community, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this like, thanks for putting things, helping to put things on the map and make this an acceptable hobby, but also like we're not like that, right?
No.
Like
Not many
but,
are.
yeah, but they do get this opportunity then to go into these places that many of us will never have the opportunity to investigate in that way. And they put a label on a lot of these places that also then really frightens people. And that's one of the many, many things I struggle with. Also, just their approach is, to me, so rude. I would never in a million years go into someone's home and speak to them the way that, or behave the way that they do. Now, I might go into someone's home and say bad words, like in jest and fun when we are done investigating and maybe we are sitting around having a nice time together. But I always kind of let Spirit know our whole team is really good about this. We introduce ourselves. We talk about the fact that times are different than when they were alive, and we might say some naughty words or make some inappropriate jokes that to them are really.
Or you might wear pants.
Correct. Correct. Yes. Yeah. I hang out with, someone else, even though I'm a married woman. Like we have a man on our team. And, I just let them kind of know that that's just us having fun. It's acceptable for the time. And we don't mean any disrespect, but I would never speak with Spirit the way that I see that being done.
No.
Provocation is not our thing.
No.
And actually,
no.
this reminds me back to the Roff House is when we first sat down, we had the obelisk going. And when we were introducing ourselves, right, when it came to Frankie, it said threat. And so it was all women except Frankie. And so we kind of explained, no, he's safe. He's okay. He's one of the good ones. And then disregard came up on the obelisk right after that. So yeah, that happens too. But we really try to just teach people. And
I think Catherine Clifton was like, I don't think so, buddy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Two things. That it was that kind of approach that kind of overwhelmed me as my first investigation, because I've seen millions of them on YouTube and Travel Channel and all these things, and had no idea what to expect, because the traditional airtime time slots are those, you walk in, you start screaming, and then you claim demon, and then you bounce, and that was just not the experience that I had at all with the T.W.A.T. So right off the bat, I was like, what is this beautiful, loving experience? I'm like so overwhelmed right now. But I think that, everyone in the house, all the spirits in the house also kind of clocked that. Like, I think that was why we got such good interactions with everyone, because we had so many interactions from start to finish, but it's almost hard to talk about them because they just kind of came so naturally and everything was so calm, and it wasn't like, and then there was a ghost in the door. Like, it wasn't like that. It was just very calm and interactive, and it almost felt commonplace, but I think that was why we had such a great interaction is because we did sort of clear the space and explain, this is how we approach things. This is how things are going to go. We mean no disrespect. This is who we are. This is why we're here. And it kind of made us wonder how many people actually do that. You
Right.
like to think that everyone does, but how many times do they have people just busting down the door and start demanding interactions? And it's like, well, who are you? This is my house. Why are
Right.
you here? So yeah, that was, I think, just a great way to summarize the entire experience. Is it was just very mutually respectful. And I've not seen a lot of that from, the stuff that gets put out there. It felt like a very unique experience to me.
There's
Yeah, I feel like that's when we were definitely being watched when we showed up and watched for a
Mhm.
while. And I think
Mhm.
that's my view of that, is that not a lot of things get talked about in that, except for the Watseka wonder in that space.
Right.
And so there's all these other people that have touched the house, have been involved, have owned it, whatever. And they're all
Mhm.
like, let's see what's going on. Because
Mhm.
I feel like this group is maybe going to listen to us, you know?
Yeah. Maybe someone's going to want to talk to one of us and not just
Yeah.
Mary. Yeah, that was
Right.
the vibe.
I know there's we interviewed a woman named Jenny. She's part of the Minnesota TAPS team. And we had brought her on because she not only investigated the Palmer House in Sauk Rapids. They're right
Yeah.
by each other. But
City.
she also used to work there. So she has a special, feeling and a special love for the Palmer House. And so we had her on. I did what investigating or research, not investigating, but research of what I could find. And then I kind of had her as my, yep, this is true. No, this isn't. This is what really, happened here. This is what hasn't happened. So it was kind of fun because I'm like, okay, this is the perception that the normal person knows about this home. And this is the personal perception that she knows. And she said that a lot of times the owner of the Palmer House will contact the TAPS team to come and cleanse it because the energy there is good. But you have so many people going there and so many different events. And like the owner doesn't allow Ouija boards. She doesn't allow, like if she gets wind that you have a Ouija board, she will not allow it. And she'll even kick you out. And so she was talking about how a lot of times the Palmer House like calls to them literally to come and, hey, give us a little spring cleaning because the energy's starting to get dark or upset
Mm.
because you have people coming in and screaming at you and doing things that don't have experience. Like Jeremy and I, we don't have any experience. We just know what we've seen and researched. And so when we did go to the Roff House, we came with very good intentions. We, like you guys had introduced ourselves, just said that if anybody has anything to say, we're here to listen, and we weren't, screaming at the top of our lungs, demanding things. And well, the partiers were screaming at the top of their lungs, but not in relation to that.
Right.
My sister was so funny. Was like the one that initiated this. Her and her friends were the ones that initiated this stay. And then we get there and she was just like, nope, not doing it, not doing it. And she's just like, if the ghosts want to party with us, we'll be in here. So come party with us, come sit down, play cards, play games. We're a good time. But she didn't want to do anything else. But it was just, so we did have screaming and yelling, just in a different sense.
I think, one thing too that oftentimes people forget to do is just to look at if you're looking at the history of a property, even if you don't want to know the history, you can look up the date when the house was built or have a team member do
Mhm.
that. And you can kind of take a guess about and look at what were customary, respectful societal rules for visiting someone's home during that time. Making sure that you acknowledge the difference as you go in. Like, that is just one of those little things that we have found great success with. And the other thing is that I always have a ritual of saying hello or goodbye to my home. And Denise, on one of the first times that we stayed together as the current four of us that we are, I remember her being like, are you going to go in and say goodbye to this house? We had an Airbnb. It wasn't haunted. We just were staying there while we were at another event. And all of us did. And it has just become regular ritual for us now as a team to give gratitude to the space that we're going into.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that Denise always reminds us. She's always the last one to do like one more walk through the house. She's so good about it. She's also the person who looks up a lot of our history before we go to a space. And then, you know, Kim usually is kind of in that mix with her. They share with one another. And then I spend like the drive there being like, stop talking about it. I don't want to know this. Like, don't give me any hints. And because they're excited, but
Right.
yeah, it is. So Kim's always our driver. She's so good. Like everybody, you know, I ride passenger princess and stomp on the imaginary brake, but the reality is when I drive, everybody's terrified. So yeah,
True.
yeah. And
To divert it away from my driving, I think that's one thing that I think was so good about the Roff House is because none of us were prepared for
Yeah.
Catherine Clifton. And
Right.
we didn't, there's really not a lot of history publicly about her. And she just loves that house and that property so much. And so that was really a joy for all of us because we were exploring it. We were like, oh, this is a really cool thread. Let's follow this. And I think it's one thing that we've been really shown throughout the investigations that we've done, that just because there's a history associated does not limit who you can connect with in that property. And that's, you know, like a lot of these properties are at least 100 and something years old. Even properties that can be 2 years old can really, I guess I want to say, like, bring you closer or bring other experiences to you. So I know a lot of people probably don't like the idea of they can go anywhere and communicate with whatever, but it's not really limited to a location necessarily. But we do really love the surprise of not knowing so much and then following that thread when things start appearing and coming through.
Definitely. Did you guys venture into any of the local establishments and meet any of the locals from the area and ask them about the Roff House at all?
we went out for Mexican food one night.
Did
I
you?
think that was the extent of
That was it.
our venturing out, really. Other than that, we did not. That might be something that we consider doing the next
I would
time.
highly recommend it because it is so interesting listening to people's I mean, everybody in that town is terrified of that home. And everybody we encountered, and they all have stories of different people that have been in there. It's never firsthand. It's always, you know, twice, third removed or whatever. And they all have stories about it. And we actually have one guy, I'll have to send you his little clip. He let me video him. I said that I'd put it on the podcast if I got a chance to. And the other thing that shocked me is I wasn't prepared for how, I mean, I live in a small town in Minnesota. I was not prepared for how rural, how like not suburban-y, being in Illinois and I being as close to Indiana, I was not prepared for the dialect, the accents. I was like, did we step into another world? It was crazy. And some of the
Okay,
people
wait. I'm cracking up because I grew up very close to there.
Did you?
I grew up very close to there, and I live in Wisconsin now. And my husband always makes fun of me for having a Southern accent. And I'm like, I don't have an accent. I don't have any dialect. I just speak the way I speak. And when I went there, I was like, wait, this is how I sound actually. Like, this does sound very different to me now after being in Milwaukee for 7, 8 years. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
you
oh
don't
wait,
hear
okay, I
it
hear
with
it now.
you.
you have an
I
Indiana Midwest accent to
Yeah.
I
me.
have a yes. When I
Mhm.
spend too much time with my husband, the big and the O comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. So I'm a little more northern now, but yeah, I noticed the same thing because I, you know, I've been saying for years that there is no difference in dialect, like there is no accent. It sounds exactly the same as you. And then when I went down there, I was like, oh, no, it doesn't at all. That like I clocked that immediately. I pulled into a gas station on my way in and I was like, oh, this is what he's talking about.
I love even when you say "oh," like
Yeah.
the difference between you,
Yep.
like you're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh,
It's
totally different,"
Yep.
right?
Thank you. I'll tell him.
When we went on a road trip, we kind of did this big road trip, went from Minnesota, went to Tennessee to help my in-laws move in, decided to take the long way home. We went through Georgia, Alabama, spent the day at the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico. Then we went to Louisiana, New Orleans, did a swamp tour, did like a 3-4 hour tour of New Orleans, and then went from Texas back. So we all did this in a 2-day time period.
Ooh,
wow.
holy
Yeah.
cannoli.
We were on our way home. The weather was so bad in Tennessee. All we were doing is staying in the house. So my youngest had never been to the ocean. So we brought her down to the Gulf, and that's where it triggered this whole thing. I'm like, well, we've never been to New Orleans. So let's do a quick swamp tour and let's book the quickest tour that we can get to get the most information about the area and stuff. And everywhere I stopped, it was like every state, the term of endearment changed, the accent changed, and everybody would ask, I would say something, and they're like, "Oh, you're from the north, aren't you?" And they're like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Minnesota," and they're like, the way I say Minnesota or whatever, and it's like, I know there's certain things because I grew up in northern Minnesota that I have that strong tendency to have that, not like the Fargo accent, but some things come out that way, but I don't hear it. And people always, oh, say this, say that. And I'm like,
For years, I had a punk rock friend who was someone who would hop trains and hitchhike across country. And I've had the same cell phone number since I was 15 years old. And so he would call me in the middle of the night and I'd answer my phone and I'd hear, say it. And I'd say, how now, brown cow? And then like laughter would erupt in the background and he'd hang up and I'd be like, okay, fine. Like, so if he's listening, you can still call that phone number and I'll still say it for you because I haven't talked to you in years, just on that off chance. But yeah. I always say that Ohio actually has one of the strongest Southern accents
do they?
that I've heard. It is like, I never would have imagined that, but yeah,
I've
it is
never been there,
interesting as
but
you move around getting different dialects.
Yeah.
it is.
It's funny as a writer, like you can't write a dialect, so
No.
I observe, like you said, the terms of endearment, things like that. I observe those because when you're writing someone, you throw in, it's like if you call someone Doodlebug, they're from New Orleans or whatever, it's like, that's how you have to get it across. So I'm super sensitive about the words that everyone is using. And yeah, it changes. Like in Chicago, it changes as soon as you're outside of the city. It's another world.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And like Minnesota, I really don't think, we'll use hun, maybe here and there.
Hun.
But
Yeah, we use hun.
Yeah.
Up here. Yes. Oh, yeah.
But not that much. But like you go to the gas stations and stuff like that. And like I said, when we did that tour, honey, baby, sweetheart, like when we had to call to let the swamp tour people know that we were running late because there was an accident. Oh, don't you worry, baby. I got you. And I was just like, wow.
I know it really makes you feel loved and like,
right.
Yeah, it does. That's why I love New Orleans.
Same.
Frankie, same. We, it's I always say I feel so appreciated when I'm there.
They're very, very sweet.
Yes.
A lot. Anything Southern is. And you say they got, or blah, blah, blah. They talk about, like the Midwestern nice or Minnesota nice or whatever. And I feel the South has more manners than some people in our area. the other day I was holding a door open. 2 people in a row held a door open, and I'm like, "You're welcome." So nothing, just walk right on by, and I'm like, if I could shut it in your face, I would, but it's too late. I already opened it for you.
I've just gotten to the point where I just stand at the door and wait for someone to open for me now at this point. I do. Sometimes I do, because I think to myself, like, excuse me? Like, wait a minute. Why? What? Like, I don't know. I expect it. I think it's polite.
It is
And
polite.
yeah.
And
I'm also the person who, will thank my cashier and
Oh yeah,
and then
I did too.
they'll be like, "Oh, you're welcome." I'll be like, "Oh, you should thank me."
thank you for thanking me,
Yeah. I mean, my kids used to tease me because I would be like, now we'd walk away and I'd be like, see, I thanked them, but as we walked away, I'd be like, but if you're ever working retail, that's your job. Just remember that. Because I do think we forget to take a moment and put ourselves into whatever we're doing or the people around us and just enjoy things. And I think it's one of the reasons that a lot of us find ourselves in this hobby, is that we want to have that connection, whether it be with one another as we go as a group to do it, or with the spirits that we're hoping to communicate with. But I often talk about, really wanting to focus on seeing people, sitting with them when we're having that opportunity. Don't think about what you're going to say next and move on to those things. A little different when you're doing a podcast. You kind of have to do all of it at once, right? But there is this collective space of wanting to have that moment of being seen and seeing someone else and having that deep connection. And I think there's another group of people that really just want to be able to break into being the first one to be able to prove something scientifically. And I think there's a space for all of that. I hope there's a space for all of that. Um, I don't think that one cancels the other one out. I don't think that one is superior to the other one by any means. But overall, it really does come down to just even those who are trying to scientifically prove things, right? I say that
Right.
in quotation marks because we don't really have the knowledge of whether or not that fully works. But even in that sense of wanting to be the first people to be able to prove something or have really good evidence, you're still hoping that you can be seen.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And so coming together in that, no matter where we go or where we travel to, I think that ties it together really well, that that's the experience that we're trying to capture and have, both with people here and with the other side. And many of us have also experienced loss that has brought us to curiosity as well. Or maybe had a terrifying experience when we were younger. Tracy, I used to be so afraid of the dark before I started doing this. It was actually one of the reasons I jumped into doing this, because I had had terrifying experiences in the dark. So I encourage you to push through being a scaredy cat, because I really once was myself, and tell you that I always tell people, I am not afraid of spirits, and you should not be either. And I'm afraid of spiders in my hair and other humans, because there are shitty
Yes.
people. And
There
not
are a
saying
lot
that
of
there aren't
people.
shitty spirits, because there are. There
Yeah.
absolutely are.
Right.
But they're pretty few and far between. And you are strong enough to just be like, I'm not going to give you any time or energy. Done.
That's very true. And it's funny, I just had a conversation last night. We invited this woman who's a medium and a healer to be on our show. And she wanted to do a conversation and get to know each other first, which I thought was wonderful. Because, a lot of times it's just, you don't have that time. You kind of get to know each other while you're doing the show. You don't have that hour-long conversation. But she was just like, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to read you. But I just want to say, I'm sorry for everything that you've gone through. And she had brought up that I grew up in a very old haunted house. And I always try to tell myself it was probably what I was just an overactive imagination, whatever. But there was other witnesses and other people that experienced stuff and whatnot. And she had said, she goes, I am seeing, she goes, it's not just the house. It was the property. And she goes, I am seeing eyes staring at you. And all of a sudden I was just like, it triggered. I had completely forgot. I would tell my mom every time I went to the barn to feed the horses and the pigs that I felt like I saw eyes and something was staring at me. I had completely put that in the back of my head and blocked that out until she said it. And I'm like, yeah, there was eyes that I always saw. And it was always, no, it's you caught a reflection, you caught this or whatever. And so I told her I shut myself off to anything paranormal. I'm intrigued by it. I love it, but it terrifies me. And I've been trying to be more open. Like when we were at the Roff House, I had to literally put my earbuds in and turn my tablet on so I would not hear anything. I was terrified of hearing something and everybody else was asleep. And I told Jeremy, I said, you are my protector and you're snoring away next to me while I'm terrified. That's not cool. you know? But I'm trying to get, and I've gotten better with it and more open to experience it. And we own a cleaning business and we have a location that has a lot of activity. And I've finally gotten to the point where I'm okay going in there by myself. Whereas before, no way. No way. And I don't care if Jeremy had 104 fever, you're coming with me. But now I've gotten to the point where I've said it enough times. It's like, I'm just here to make this place better for you guys. Please just let me do my work. Let me be. And I'm trying not to react to things when I see them and they happen. And like I had told the medium that I had talked to, I said I was literally walking by one of the rooms and this black shadow in a dark room went across the floor. This just happened a few days ago and didn't say anything. I tried to debunk it. I tried walking by the window, tried to see if it was my shadow, if I could figure out what created it, but there was nothing that would have created this black shadow moving across the floor as it did. And she's like, with you trying to debunk this, she goes, you're closing yourself off to it. And I'm like, well, that's what I've done my entire life. I've closed myself off to it. And the other things that have happened, it's like I try to explain it, but there's things I can't explain. And so I'm trying to be more open and I want to go out and do more experiences and go and do this stuff more often. And because I would like to be able to, it interests me so much, but I have to get past my fear.
I think it's so important to just remind yourself like nothing bad has happened to you from these
The other
energies
side.
you've come across, right? Nothing
Right.
bad has happened to you. And you ultimately, how much you believe in yourself is the amount of boundary you can set, right? So saying like, this is unacceptable for me, putting it out there, verbalize it if you need to, think about it, whatever feels like it gives you the most strength, that really helps. And then I will say, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers, but be cautious of people who have ability, or let me say this, I feel like everyone has abilities or the possibility to, right?
Right.
But be cautious of people who have focused on developing their ability and see that as their identity, that tell you that you're in danger or have, you know, um, they read you without asking. Yes, we pick up on things, but we can be respectful, right?
Right.
People who tell you that things are negative all the time or this is evil or that feeds into the concept of like us versus them, separating out something, and it does nothing but bring about destruction and breakdown of communication. So just always be cautious of that. As I spend a lot of time as someone doing what I do, doing a lot of recovery work for people who've been scared by someone who has quote unquote read them. And it's
Oh,
not
I'm
to say
sure.
that the reader didn't have ability, but it's the reader's own perception of what they're placing on it. And so just, recognize that all I can say to you is like everything you've shared with me so far, you haven't been harmed. No
No,
one
no.
has intentionally it doesn't seem like you're saying anyone has intentionally startled you. If they have, like those are the people that you need to, your spirits that you need to set a boundary with. But
Oh, they try. I
yeah,
mean, I've had things fall, like I'll be vacuuming, I'll be on the other side of a classroom, and all of a sudden, just with no reason, something just bloop right to the ground. I'm
I
like,
mean, kids are assholes. I have 2
Mhm.
children who are now adults, but like I also have 6 younger siblings, and I
Yep.
was a kid once too. We all went through that sassy like little streak, and I say that in the most loving
Oh,
way
yeah.
of being able to say it, but really like so you are going to have them push back because they're still learning where their boundaries are.
Oh,
But if
yeah.
you're cleaning a schoolroom,
Yes.
yeah.
And it's it used to be a clinic that
Oh, sure.
somebody bought and turned into a daycare center.
Hmm.
And I don't think that there's anything like evil or dark. There is a prankster there. There is a jokester. And I basically, like I said, had to like in my head and even out loud sometimes, just let me do my job. I don't like when you do this stuff. Like shirts pulled, hair pulled. One night I was vacuuming and I swore I heard somebody walk up behind me and say my name. And I thought it was Jeremy. I stopped, turned the vacuum off, turned around. There was nobody there. And I was like, okay, the vacuum must have been making a noise that made me think I heard something. And then as I turned back around, I got a on the back of my neck. And I froze, walked upstairs, got Jeremy, and I was like, we need to go outside. And he's like, you okay? I'm like, yep, we just need to go outside. I would not acknowledge it in the building, And we went outside and he's like, you are white as a ghost. I'm like, that's because a ghost just blew on my neck. And
Yeah, because handsy old men also exist on the other side.
Yes.
That actually was my experience in the Palmer house. Was I got groped once,
Did
and
you?
someone tried to climb into bed with
That
me
was
once.
a different Palmer house, though.
Oh,
I
is
think.
it?
Yeah. There's a Palmer house in Minnesota, right?
Okay.
And then
Yep.
there's also
Yep.
an establishment in Illinois that's
Oh,
the Palmer
really?
house as well. So, yep.
And
But
no,
nobody better.
we were talking earlier about the one in Minnesota
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
that we went to.
Yeah. Yes. We both we had an adjoining room, Kimberly and I did, and we
Yeah.
both felt like someone kind of gotten a little handsy in bed.
Yep, they got a little
Yeah.
handsy.
Nobody better be crawling in bed with me.
I
And I think like the hard time I had with it was it's like, is this really happening? Like, did that just happen? Like, what is going on? Like, you kind of are like, you start thinking about it and you almost forget to say, hey, not cool. I did not say
Right.
yes.
Boundaries. So I have a funny story, and it's not even ghost related, with feeling something crawling into bed with me. One night I was home with my kids alone when they were like 1 and 3, my 2 older kids. And I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I feel across my feet on top of the bed.
Oof.
And I freaked out. I kicked my feet, and then I hear this thump and like something sliding down the wall. What in the hell just happened? And
That's
I'm
wild.
mom, so I have to put on my brave pants and look under the bed to try to figure out what just hit the wall and slid down. It was one of my kids' hamsters that freaking escaped and crawled into bed with me. You want to talk about having a heart attack? I couldn't imagine a ghost that I can't see crawling into bed with me.
It's funny.
Oh, but well, you guys, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I can't thank you enough for joining us. I'm assuming that Jeremy faded. That's why he disappeared.
That's all right.
We had a
Alright.
hard night
That's
with GoDaddy. With
yeah,
the website and stuff.
it's tough when
So,
you have all that to
but
clean up.
I thoroughly enjoyed everything. You guys are all amazing, and I look forward to following and hearing all of your next adventures and hearing Catherine, your guys' podcast. I've been listening to it. It's been very fun. You guys
So
have a
good.
great
It's so
personality
fun.
Yeah.
and great chemistry with each other too.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah,
have
and
a fun
I
time.
Oh, go ahead, Catherine.
No, I was just gonna say we all need to get together sometime.
Yeah.
Do some podcast things.
Yes, and we're all kind of in, probably within a
Yeah.
few hours of each other. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll
Yeah.
have to meet somewhere and do some kind of fun, like,
Sure.
event, or go and, do an investigation or something. You guys can help ease me into
I would
not
love
being
that.
petrified.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to say also, when Catherine said that Gina was with us in spirit, Catherine brought she brought a really cute framed photo of Gina
Yes.
with her and made sure that she was with us in every room, which
Everywhere.
loved. I loved it. Like,
That
Yes.
is
yes,
amazing.
it
I
was so
love
sweet.
that.
Truly. Speaking
Yeah.
of trapped spirits, I truly forced her spirit to be there. Actually.
That's great. Well, thank
And
you
we
guys.
did actually call her too.
Did you?
Didn't
Did you
you?
FaceTime
Yeah,
her?
I think we didn't you FaceTime?
I don't remember if we FaceTimed or just called, but that was
Yeah.
right before the door closed and people started hearing voices and stuff. I think she may have
Yeah.
triggered something or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you put her on the piano with all
Yeah.
of the other pictures and stuff?
Oh, we did.
We actually did, yes. Yes.
I loved the pictures. I wish I would. I'm gonna have to look back at the video of the walkthrough because I do not remember seeing that other stuff in that one room. And we did spend time.
Okay.
Actually, John fired up the old school record player and stuff while we were there.
Oh yeah.
And so he cranked it up and had it playing, and it was really weird because I kept saying that I kept feeling vibrations. But
Okay.
everybody kept telling me
Yeah.
that it was from the record player, but not everybody was feeling it. And I'm like, no, when this thing is playing, I am vibrating. And I had somebody else stand where I was standing and they didn't feel it.
So when I was under for Estes, I was in the front room, the front living room. And what I felt was almost like as if someone was stomping around on the floor in front of me. Like it was that much vibration in the floor, but only while I was under. The second I would there was no vibration happening. Everybody else was sitting in the space. Everyone was sitting still. It was like physically felt like it was shaking my body. So I think it's interesting that you say that because it just kind of sparked that memory. Yeah.
It's crazy how everything kind of, different things come together. And I love this. Like I said, I've been obsessed with the Roff House ever since my sister brought it to my attention. I'd vaguely heard the story on another podcast years ago. And so I went in, both feet, just diving into the investigation and all of the different investigations and the different books. And actually, I've got to show you. While I was doing my story, I've got this, I did order the Possessed book.
Oh, yeah.
And as you can see, I was just like, that's good. That's good. That's good. I got to look into that. I mean, I just, did a little, it's all messed up. I got to order a clean copy because it's got highlights and notes. And then I also downloaded the E.W. Winchester. I think that was his name. The doctor. I downloaded his book offline and, went through and was reading that and stuff. And I went deep and I'm like, okay, I got to stop. I got to just cut the cord and just, do the story because otherwise I'm never going to get it out. So I got obsessed with the place almost and the story.
A location that calls you back.
Oh, for sure.
And it definitely is so nice as a location because you can sleep there and
Yes.
shower there, and it's not
Yep.
disgusting
there.
like
Right.
so
Yep.
many other locations are. So please, Airbnb owners who have, an interesting past or haunted experiences, please, start making it known. Open it up. We love clean, healthy, happy, friendly places we can go investigate.
Well,
With
and it's
positive histories.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Well, again, you guys we'll have to share our different things. We've got each other's email and stuff. I'll send you what we have, and then you guys send me what you have, and we'll put it all together. And you guys are more than welcome to use anything that you feel that you can. We don't have much, but it's interesting, and I'd love to hear your feedback on the few things that we did catch. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
all right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
again.
And I'm interested
Thank you
when we
so
go
much
back
for
about
Thank
those
inviting
you
me.
so much.
Yes,
Yeah.
until we'll have to do something like this again.
Would love
Yes,
to.
definitely.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.